So you've got a social event coming up. What do you do? So in order for us to understand what you're going to do at a social event, you need to make a decision. And the decision comes based on your environmental stress, how much you're able to say no in scenarios, if you're a leader or you're a follower, or you're able to withstand the pressures of social comments. Now, once you go through one or two, you'll know what type of individual you are at the moment. Over time, that may change. You may, change from someone that isn't really vocal in a social event occasion around about how much to drink or how much food I should eat. But over time, you will become more of a leader as you take more ownership of your day, when you have that self-accountability to be like, hang on, I need to make a decision that isn't the same as what you need to make a decision on, so I'm going to take that ownership. Once you've decided what type of individual that you are, if you're someone who knows that you can't say no to other people, family members, people that offer you food all the time, depending on what the cultural background is, and you know that they're always going to keep on asking, then you have to take into consideration those factors before you make a plan. I think the three options that you've got, one is that you choose a maintenance day. So a day in where you don't get fat loss. More of these over a month's period, you're going to get less fat loss over the month's period, but it is an ample way for you to navigate a day and where you have more calories. You would probably stick to your lunch and your breakfast being the same thing, but equally in the evening, you would then have that extra food to go over to those calorie maintenances. And that will teach you that you can have a meal during a fat loss phase. You can have a day in where you're not having fat loss, and that's okay. And you then just get back on it tomorrow. That will obviously slow down the rate of fat loss, but equally that will also give you a lifestyle and understanding of how to manage maybe in the future, which is great. And providing that you do it too adequately, you don't go overboard, it'll be absolutely fine. Maintenance day, you probably get around about 14 to 16 times your body weight in pounds as a calorie allowance. It'll allow you to have like a main meal at a restaurant. It'll allow you to have maybe a dessert and then 2 other smaller meals in the day. It won't allow for 10 drinks and three courses and a kebab on the way home. It's not going to do that for you. Nothing's going to do that for you. In terms of if you choose that you want to get fat loss, but you want to eat the food that they're eating, then what I would recommend you doing is that obviously there's loads of options where it's really easy to get in the mindset of like, I'm just going to not eat breakfast, I'm not going to eat lunch, and I'm going to save those calories for then I can go out big in the evening meal. However, that only encourages you to go bigger in the evening. Whereas what we need you to do is to encourage this longer term approach of how to manage a social event, where you're going to the social event and you're picking the right option. You're not taking away, starving all of your food in the morning to then overindulge in the evening. That doesn't solve anything. That's not a longer term solution, because all you're going to do is when you do that down the line, you're just not going to do the fasting, and then you're just going to gain lots of weight in the evening. And nor is that a good way and a responsible way to manage your calories. It doesn't teach you anything. So the way that we do it in terms of teaching you is that if you want fat loss, you make a better decision. So if you don't have the ability to track calories, so you're not going to anywhere like Nando's, Wagamama's, Pret, Pizza Express, any of these type of places, or the food isn't readily available for you to scan the barcodes on MyFitnessPal, or equally know how many calories are in it, or the family people that you're with aren't, going to let you do all the calories at the back of the packs and stuff like that, which is absolutely fine, then your choice is to utilize a 1 plate rule. This would cut down a lot of the food portion that you're going to have and allow it to be just one specific plate. So this will be a plate, half will be vegetables, a quarter will be a carb source, depending if your coach lets you have that carb source and thinks it's appropriate for the amount of calories you're on based on you wanting fat loss, and then quarter of plate of protein. For some that might be protein and veggies, some of you that might be protein, carbs and veggies, and that way you can get this plate of food that allows you to eat the same foods as the other people that are around you, but equally at portion sizes around. If you're having foods like pizza and lasagna, then they're going to be obviously foods that are quite high calorie intensity, so two slices of pizza and salad is probably going to be adequate, or like a small part of lasagna, which is a quarter of a plate, is going to be adequate for you to kind of get fat loss. And they're really the teachings that you need to learn to kind of go, okay, if I want fat loss, here's the trade-off, or if I want to eat at this event, here's the trade-off. And I think they're very, very useful to utilize in the long term. You can't expect to kind of go all in at these social events, but then equally go all in on fat loss. It doesn't work. And all it'll do is just create this piggy in the middle where you're going all in a social event and then you're restricting so hard afterwards that then you end up overeating later down the line because you've over restricted. You don't want to create that over restricted mentality, because it only ever leads to overindulgence. So therefore, we want to keep it neutral, and you make the best decision, which allows you to have this mid ground, which is key. And then the last thing is, if you want fat loss and you're prepared to take your own food, or you're cooking it yourself, let's say, for example, if it's at your home or you're going to a picnic, these are times where you can take your own food, and there's no shame, and maybe there is from internally or people around you that don't understand, but you bringing your own food to an event, or you tracking your calories before people get there, is common for people that are going to be figuring out how to maintain their weight or manage their weight or get some fat loss. You know, the people that are probably making these comments aren't in particularly great shape themselves, and therefore it's not great to take the advice of people that aren't also doing the same thing as what you're doing. So if you are, or you do have the ability to be a leader where you're tracking calories at Nando's, Wagamama's, you're taking your own food to a picnic, or you're bringing people around to your house so that you can eat food that's accustomed to your day, then that's what you would do too. You've obviously got all the swaps in the swap document, which means that there should be some level of variety and flexibility, so you don't have to eat specific foods, but you can make something that is for everybody else. I would definitely recommend, you know, when people do come around to your house, is that you've got so many options on the swap document where you could make something that will fit to your diet and also then fit to everyone else's. Those people that do that are the ones that actually make this a bit of a long-term journey. If you've got people coming around and every single time people come around to your house, you feel like you need to serve them the old-fashioned, what you did, you know, 2 years ago, it's only going to lead to you wanting that type of food and then indulging in that because you haven't had it for such a long period of time, whereas you could make them something new. So you used to probably make a pasta carbonara, and now you're making, you know, let's say, for example, you're making salmon stir fry with teriyaki sauce, whatever it is, and then you're introducing them into the new way that you're doing, and then it allows you to be the leader there. So that's how they're the three options when it comes to social events. If you want any other stuff about like either what you can do on top of the maintenance day, I think that this is about adequate for what you should achieve when you're trying to be in a fat loss phase, or you're being in a maintenance phase. If you've got enough calories at a higher rate of being in a surplus, then you can do a little bit extra with those food intakes. But equally, it's always good to gain moderation first and become a leader before we start moving forward into like, okay, well, what if I had 3,000 calories to play with? How would I manage that day? That's going to be few and far between for most of you. So hopefully that helps with social events.